In the world of programming, handling errors gracefully is crucial for building robust applications. This lesson focuses on error handling in file operations using Python. When working with files, various issues can arise, from missing files to permission errors. Understanding how to manage these exceptions will help you create programs that are more user-friendly and resilient. Don't worry if this feels new at first. This section covers what's error handling. Error handling is a programming construct that allows developers to anticipate and manage errors that may occur during the execution of a program. In Python, this is typically done using try, except, else, and finally blocks. By implementing error handling, developers can prevent their programs from crashing and can provide meaningful feedback to the user. Now, common file operation errors. When performing file operations, several common errors can occur. First, file not found error, raised when trying to open a file that doesn't exist. Also, permission error, raised when trying to access a file without sufficient permissions. Finally, I/O error, raised when an I/O operation fails, such as reading from or writing to a file. Let's move on to using try and except blocks. The primary way to handle errors in Python is by using try and except blocks. Here's a simple example. See the example on this slide. Pause if you want to study the details. In this example, we attempt to open a file named example.txt in read mode. If the file doesn't exist, a file not found error is raised, and the program will print a message instead of crashing. The finally block ensures that the file is closed if it was successfully opened, preventing resource leaks. Handling multiple exceptions. Let's dig in. Sometimes you may want to handle multiple exceptions for a single operation. You can do this by specifying multiple except clauses. I'll let you read the examples on screen rather than reading every line aloud. In this example, if the file isn't found, the program will inform the user. If the user doesn't have permission to read the file, a different message will be shown. This allows for more specific error handling based on what went wrong. This section covers using else and finally. The else block can be used when you want to execute code that should run only if no exceptions occur. The finally block, as mentioned earlier, will always execute regardless of whether an error occurred. Here's an example. The samples on screen walk through this step. Take a moment to read through them. In this case, if the file is successfully opened, the content is read and printed. The finally block ensures the file is closed if it was opened successfully. So to recap, error handling is an essential part of file operations in Python. By using try, except, else, and finally blocks, you can manage errors gracefully and provide feedback to users. Remember to handle specific exceptions to give more informative messages. Now put what you've learned into practice. First, write a program that attempts to read a file named data.txt and handles the case where the file doesn't exist. Also, modify the previous program to include handling for permission errors. Also, create a function that writes to a file and includes error handling for both file not found and permission issues. Finally, implement a program that reads from a file and uses the else block to process the file only if it was opened successfully.